Good evening, ladies. Okay, I want to say this is take two. This is Tanis Cotto with Ladies Let's Talk About ... Please come in. You're welcome to come in. Please join me for a brief talk about issues that are pertaining to women. Yes, this is week 8 that we are now in since I've started Ladies Let's Talk About ... And I just want to first say thank you. Thank you for all of the wonderful comments that I've received, feedback. It's amazing. You know, you never know when you're sitting in front of this camera just looking and no one is looking back at you, that you can see that, you know, there are people that are across the world. We had a wonderful pastor that spoke to my husband and just told him how much this is really blessing the women in Uganda. Can you believe it? So if I can just bless one person with what I'm talking about today, what I have to share each week, then I have definitely done what I'm called to do. So please just join me. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about a topic called Look Before You Leap. And what is Look Before You Leap? What is that about? It's essentially about, you know, as women, we are built on a lot of emotions, and especially the women that are kind of in the waiting, the women in church who have given their lives to Jesus, and they're waiting for that husband to come, you know, and if you're even not in the church, as women, we have desires. We want to definitely get married, have a family, have children, you know, and those things. And when we look at that, it's essentially we want to just have someone that's there, that's special. And what we often do is we get excited thinking about when you meet someone. If you've been waiting for a long time and you finally met someone, you are so excited, right? And the first thing that we do is sometimes things just go out of your mind. We don't think about what we're doing, might be having this relationship. And, you know, as we get deeper into the relationship, we sometimes make decisions that, you know, that might affect us. Decisions that could affect us for the rest of our lives. Decisions that can affect us down the line, that can really hurt us. And in that, it is essential, especially if you have met someone that you are really excited about, you're really looking about. What is essential about this is that you have to ensure that you have someone that can examine this person. And I say that because when we are in the midst of a relationship, oftentimes it's good to have a second eye to kind of look and say, okay, give this person the once over, to say, okay, this person might be all right, or I saw something in this person that might not be suitable for you, or it might be a problem down the line. And you want to do that because it helps to protect you. It protects your back. I can say to the women, if you have a father, if you have a brother, I think it's essential. Introduce this guy. Introduce this man to your father. Introduce him to your brothers. And why I say that is men often know men. They know men. And men speak a language to each other that women really don't get in the middle of. We don't know. There's certain things that a man can spot about another man that a woman, especially when you are so excited about this person, that you will not be able to see. Now, I'm going to also talk about the women who are in the church. It's essential. If you have a relationship, and this relationship, you're praying that it goes toward marriage, be sure that your pastor meets this man. And I will tell you, your pastor, it's like your father. It's supposed to be like your father, right? If you can't bring this man around your pastor, then there's something that's wrong with that. Your pastor, spiritually, he's your covering. He knows you. He can kind of examine things for you, just like your father would. You know, it's also essential, if you can't bring this man around your father, if you can't bring them around the male influences in your life, then there's something that is wrong. And the reason why I say male influences, like I said, men can recognize something in another man that a woman cannot recognize in a man. Just because, your eyes might be filled with excitement, especially if you've been waiting for a long time, waiting for this guy to come, and finally he's here. We get so into everything that we're doing that, we miss the clues. And in the book of Proverbs, chapter 11, verse 14 says, in the multitude of counsel, there is safety. You want to be safe when you are in a relationship. You want to have safety. And safety comes from, like I said, having this person, come around your father, around your brothers, around your pastor. It's also, there's something that's within us. When we meet someone, sometimes you'll know if you can't bring them around. If you can't bring them around these essential people in your life, you know that something might not be right. And there's always a fear, especially if the person isn't right or who they're supposed to be, that someone else is going to spot that thing too. And what we essentially do when we don't bring them around counsel, people to observe your relationship, to kind of come to you and to talk to you, when we don't do that, we go into places that we are not supposed to go into. And down the line, what you'll say is, oh my God, I wish that I had a second set of eyes. Just like anything else, when I know if I write a paper, and if I've been writing this paper and composing the paper, at the end of it, I'm so engrossed into the paper that there are mistakes. There are things that oftentimes I cannot see. But when I bring a second set of eyes, just to kind of look at it and say, all right, hey, you missed a word here and you missed a spelling there, it helps my paper to improve. So when you bring a second set of eyes, it helps in your relationship. It helps you to be able to improve. I tell you, my mother is really wonderful, because as a teenager, she told me, she says, you cannot date until you are 16. And of course, this is before I really got into the church and got saved. She says, you can't date until at least you were 16. When I met my first guy that, he wanted to court me, he wanted to date me, the first thing I did was I brought him home to meet my mother. And I always had a rule of thumb. I always said, if this guy can't meet my mother, if I can't bring him home to meet my mother, then he's not worth it. Then it's not worth me even talking to him. And that's what I stood by. So when I started, seriously dating, the first thing I did was I brought the guy home to meet my mother. I, grew up with my mom, and I had her, she examined him, kind of gave him the once over. It's like, had him in that dark room with the bright light flashing in his eyes. What do you want with my daughter? What are your intentions? What are you looking to do? What do you want out of this relationship? What are you looking to do? And she was able to do that. And when someone sees that you have someone else that is kind of watching your back, chances are that they'll also watch their step. And that's what you want. When someone believes that you have no one, there's no one that's there for you, then they might be prone to do something, especially if there's someone who's lacking integrity, who has kind of, I would say, a shaky background, because people can camouflage stuff. We do it all the time. We put on the makeup, we put on the nice clothes, and maybe under the clothes you have your body's ripped up, right? It might have scars and so on. When you put on the makeup, you see it all the time on YouTube, where some of these women, man, when they start out, you're like, I don't know what kind of makeup could really help this woman, but at the end of it, she looks like a totally different person. So we know that we could put the makeup on, we could put the fine designer clothes on, or whatever to cover these scars. So, you know, someone that you're dating can also do that. And if you're like me, I mean, when I have on my fine clothes and whatever, I can do it for a couple of hours, but I can't go 24 hours. I can't go a week. I can't go a month in the same, or especially if you're wearing corsets. So women, you know, this is it's a talk for women, right? If you're wearing some kind of corset to kind of live here and tuck there and so on, after a couple of hours, your body is screaming out for pain. You need to get a little comfortable. You need to be yourself. It's just the same way. People can put up a facade for a little while, but if after a while they have to kind of drop that facade. They have to drop that facade. And if you have someone that's kind of watching out for you, they can see when that facade drops and it says, hey, you watch out, there's something about this person that you have to be careful about. And you know, I've counseled women. I've had horror stories. I've had really rough stories. I've really had sat and cried with women who did not go through that process of having someone kind of examine this person. You got so excited, jumped in feet first, right? You didn't look before you leaped. Got into, maybe met someone, and after a short period of time, next thing you're married to the person, or you're in a place, you've moved in. And of course, I know if you're a believer, you definitely should not be shacking up. Well, believer or not, we shouldn't even be doing that. It's these things are set in place to give you safety. But it's essential to be sure that you look before you leap. There are decisions that we make that I'm telling you, they cut deep. They cut deep. It could make you lose your mind. It could cost you something that you can never get back. And with that, I would rather be really, really cautious, toe the line, and do what I needed to do. When I first met my husband, I met him in church. And the great thing about that is in church, he had been in church for quite some time, so people knew him. They knew him. That I can go to this one and say, okay, can you tell me a little bit of, tell me about his character. Who are his people? Who are his people? Is he someone that's credible? And that was a reassurance for me. I had other women in the church that kind of, helped to advise me, helped to counsel me on this impending relationship. Another thing that my husband did was he went to my pastor concerning me. He asked my pastor if it was okay to speak to me. I tell you, I really love being a believer. I've lived the life outside of church, and I have the life inside of church. And I tell you, there's just such a great difference. I can rave every day, all day long about really being a believer. You know why? Because the things that are kind of set up in the Word of God, when you do them the way that you're supposed to do it, I'm telling you, your life is much, much easier. Before church, when I was dating someone, I didn't have anyone to who was coming to talk to my pastor. I talked to my father to say, hey, can I even approach your daughter? My husband was taught that in the church, and he was able to go to my pastor and say, I really see she's in the church and I would like to talk to her. Man, if that doesn't make you feel a little bit safe, I don't know what will. And my pastor was able to counsel him, to advise him, as well as I was able to get counseling from the women in church. A lot of what I'm talking to you about is what I've been through. It's essential to be able to have a place and have someone that will back you up. So if you're there, you don't have you don't have any of this going on, or you don't know where to go, I implore you, if you have really good friends, if you have, you can talk to your parent, make sure when that person is coming around, make sure you let them know, this is a person that I'm seeing. This is a person, he says that he's interested in me. And let them ask him a few questions. That's right. Let him grill him a little. Let him put some work in. You're worth it. You are worth the work. And if he really, really is interested in you, then there shouldn't be any challenges in him having someone examine him. And that's also a red signal for you. If he really doesn't want to be introduced to your family, introduced to your pastor, introduced to your father, introduced to your brothers, that's a signal. That's a big red signal. And it's saying slowly start backing out, because there might be something up with him. So, that's essentially what I wanted to share with you today. Remember, Proverbs 11:14 says, in a multitude of counsel, there is safety. Please be safe. Please be safe in your relationships. And know that, you shouldn't be going this all by yourself. There should be also someone there that is backing you up and helping to examine you. If you have any questions for me, you can always inbox me, send me a message and ask me. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you. Maybe there might be something that you see that might be a little shaky about, maybe someone that you're seeing or whatever, and I could perhaps answer that question for you. I want to thank you for just spending these few minutes just listening with a keen ear. Please give your comments, like, tag, and share. If you know someone that this can also benefit them or bless them, please do that. And if I can help just one person by something that I said, I would have done an excellent job. So thank you. I will be back here again next week with you on Facebook Live with Ladies Let's Talk About ... Let's have an awesome day. Remember, you are beautiful. You are the best thing that God has ever made. You are loved. I love you. You are awesome. Look in that mirror and make sure you tell yourself that. Okay? Have a great day, and I'll talk to you. Bye.